Hello, 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 and welcome to the league of EFES. Yes, quite long, but yeah, I have to say, we are back, of course, for the European Formula Esports Series. And it is, I've got to say, it is great to be back, of course, here on this Sunday evening for round number 2 at Austria of the season. Of course, lovely, lovely season 2. Round 2 of season 2, and it is Austria, as you can see on the left-hand side. So I've got to say, I'm quite interested to see tonight. But let's have a look at a couple of different things. Give me a second, because I have missed the calendar. I've completely and utterly missed the calendar. Don't mind me. I will fix it. Very short. I will fix it in a minute. Once I can, I will fix. I do apologise. I don't know what planet I'm on. I completely forgot to actually do the calendar for this. I forgot. Leave me alone, guys. I forgot. Let me be. Let bro chill. Yes, so we can look at the calendar now. As you see, we had Australia for round number 1 of the season last week, followed by Austria, followed by... Then next week we'll be going to Belgium. Then it is United Kingdom. We go to Silverstone for round number 4. Then we go to Monza for round 5. Round 6 goes to Qatar, where we go back over to South and North America for Brazil and USA. Then we have Singapore as round 9 and Abu Dhabi to end off the season. Looking at the track map, of course, of Austria, of the Spielberg circuit, 4.318 kilometers, 2.683 miles, 10 turns, 3 DRS zones down the pit straight, the second straight, and down the back straight, which is, of course, at the top of the hill, as you can see, only 10 corners on this entire track, 10 turns. It always throws me off that there's only... It always throws me off that there's only 10 corners. I always forget that. I always think there's 11. I will say, I always think there is 11. Which is an interesting one. But yeah, it's always interesting to have a couple of extra... a couple less corners. But this track, I think, is an interesting one because it's, as you can see, it's short, but it's very interesting. Because I think because of how short it is, it means it's the quickest track to go around as well. On F1, we've seen a lot of people reach 1 minute 2s, 1 minute 3s, sort of, we see a lot of that. And so, I look at that and I go, 1 minute 2s. It's so much shorter than any other track on the calendar. The next closest, I think, is actually Monaco. Sorry, it's Brazil and then it's Monaco. So, a couple of seconds back, sort of 4 or 5 seconds behind. Looking at the standings from last week, SCT take the lead of the... They take the lead of the championship out of round 1. Full 25 points, but it's quite close because... Continex follows behind by just 1 point on 24 points. They follow behind in second with a double points finish. FZR as well come in third. VE, after the first week, it's been a good start to their season, already up to 4th. FST as well up in 5th, while we see F1AF and RV2 be at the bottom of the point scorers. Then TDR, then as you see OMB and UFRT. 3 teams not scoring points in round number 1. Maybe that will change for this race. I do apologise for a bit of the delay that we're seeing at the moment. I do apologise for the slight slowness of getting started. I believe we are just missing 1 driver, so we should hopefully have that sorted. We should hopefully have that sorted in a second, or we are just going to go without them. Just to point out who is in what cars. As you can see, SET, of course, in the Mercedes. It's OMB in the Aston Martin, FZR in the Williams, UFRT in the Red Bull. Then in the RB, or the Racing Bulls, it is FST. Then it is F1A, F1 AF in the Ferraris, RV2 in the Saubers, VE in the McLarens, like I said, SET in the Mercedes, CTX in the Alpines, TDR finally in the Haas. Very common to see TDR in the Haas. I don't see it. I don't see it very often. I don't see them be in any other car, to be honest. It seems to be quite common for them to be in the Haas. I've never seen them outside of the Haas, if I'm being honest. Actually haven't. They've always been Haas. Quite a strange one. But those are all the cars for tonight. Looking around, it's looking like a very competitive grid this evening. But, we'll have to see. As you can see the track just once more. Quite a bit of elevation change. It's about a 70-meter elevation change between the lowest and highest point of the track. So, quite a bit of difference. But it is going to be very interesting to see how everything is going to go here tonight. As we are getting ready to get going for the qualifying session, of course, and an 18-minute qualifying session followed by a 36-lap race is what we're going to be seeing here tonight. I've got to say, it is interesting to see sort of how in this first race we've got the top 5 who are all within 13 points of each other, and then 6th and 7th are very far back, and then 8th, 9th, and 10th pointless at the moment for themselves, which isn't the best of things. I think we can all agree it's not brilliant. But yeah, I think that's very much the way it goes most of the time. But yeah, we are getting into the lobby now, so it will just be about a minute or so until we do finally get into qualifying. We're a little bit late, not very late to be honest. I'm quite excited to see what we're gonna get here tonight, because it isn't just going to be a race over, this is the second race. Are we gonna see the same teams lead in this second race? Is it gonna be the same sort of grid? And it is looking very interesting for this first race, because I can tell you that it is raining. It is full on rain for this evening, and that has blown me away. I did not think we were going to see this tonight. But yeah, I'll talk about actually the drivers we have for each team. For TDR, we have Iman and we have Ben Dearman. At OMB, we have Simon Equestre and Milan Diosi. At UFRT, we have Tallow. And we have Rob. At F1 AF, if I'm able to say it, we have Jerem. And we also have the Granddadda. Sounds so strange to me. Then at FZR we have Josh Woolley, and we also have Luke Sawyer in those positions. At I need to actually check who this. At VE, sorry, I had it on the tip of my tongue. At VE we have MM Overdrive, and we have Colombo. We've got a lot of other drivers as well. I will point that out. We have a lot of drivers. And we've already got our first few coming out onto the track. And the first one of the evening is going to be Simon Equestre for OMB. Let's see what they can do. They need a strong evening here. They're down in 9th in the Constructors' Championship. Not where they want to be. Whoa! And that is Simon Equestre, who spun round in turn number 3. Very interesting to see already some drivers. Whoa, you can see struggling on. There's an Alpine that's just stopped on track. That is Barbossi who stopped on track, and he's moving very slowly. Sendiox now retires. We now look to, I think it is Josh Woolley. Yes, it is. It is Josh Woolley who now goes along, and it's Barbossi retires, Simon Equestre retires, Milan Diosi retires. I'm not sure what is happening. Oh my god. It is. There's been a bit of a problem with the settings. It has been it's forcing the cockpit camera, so we will be having a restart. Sadly, we are going to be facing a quick restart. It should only take a minute or two. Strange. It's one of the very few times I've seen this before. And that is that. Very strange. It's the first time in a while I've seen that, but I can't really blame anybody because I do know that that when doing the settings, the last one is the force cockpit camera, and the problem is you click right on things to turn them on and you click left to turn them off, but the last one, which is the force cockpit camera, you press left to turn it on and right to turn it off. So because it's done in a different way, sometimes people accidentally click it. But it should only be a few minutes until we get to the actual qualifying session. So it shouldn't be too long, everybody. Don't worry, we will be back. So we will be getting. We do have to go through the race start, sadly, to get back to the lobby. So you know what? We'll watch the complete chaos. We'll watch the complete chaos, everybody, because you know what? It's so fun to do that. So we'll watch this chaotic race start. The bit of action we're going to see before qualifying even properly gets underway. Here they go. 5 red lights. And away they go. And they're crashing everywhere. Oh my god. Oh my god. Bend in and leads, and in the wall he goes. And these guys are ghosted. And that is that, and that's all finished. And that is your bit of fun for that race. Very interesting. But looking at the calendar, you know, we had the difficult and twisty circuit of Australia, sort of medium to high speed. We've got Austria, which is, I'd say, predominantly medium to high speed corners. I think there's really, you could really only say maybe 2 low speed corners on the track, and that's turn 3 and turn 4. Outside of that, there isn't. It's high speed turn 1, turn 2's flat out, of course. Turn 3 and 4 are, I'd say, low speed. Turn 5 isn't. Turn 6 and 7 are medium to high speed. Turn 8 is high speed. Turn 9 and 10 are high speed. So most of them are high speed. Then you got Belgium, which also kind of follows that what we've seen, that sort of high speed sort of circuits. Turn 1's really the only low speed corner on the entire track. Pretty much every other corner's high speed. I think. Pretty much every other corner is medium to high speed, except the final chicane. So really only 3 low speed corners you have at Belgium. Silverstone goes in the same way. These first 5 races of Silverstone and then Monza for round 5, all really high speed. Silverstone high speed, Monza high speed, as we all know. You know, it's the temple of speed, you know. And I look at that and I go, Monza and United Kingdom. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see what we get from those two races as well. Qatar, Qatar again. I think I'd say Qatar is more medium speed than high speed. I'd say. I mean, turn 1, turn 2, and turn 3, yes. Turn 4, yes. Turn 5, yes. Turn 6 is low speed. Turn 7 is medium speed. But, you know, it's a mix. I'd say it's still a high-speed track. Brazil, I'd say Brazil probably sits more in that medium-speed circuit. I think it's definitely more of a medium-speed track. So, Brazil's kind of the first track on the calendar that kind of goes down to that medium speed. I'm guessing if it's USA, I'm guessing it's COTA. But it might be Las Vegas, for all I know. If it's either one, again, kind of medium to high speed, I'd say probably high speed. Singapore, that's where you hit low speed. Singapore, definitely a low speed circuit. And Abu Dhabi, again, it depends, but I'd say probably high speed. So, you know, you look at all of it. And it's looking interesting, definitely. It's looking very interesting as a calendar. Looking at the standings, though. We've looked at this before, but I want to look at it again. Because it's something important to look here. You know, SET and CTX are both, you know, they've both come out of this first race. I know SET's 1 point ahead, but they both come out pretty much equal, almost equal on points. So proving that they're both maybe, they're both the top two. Third, FZR. Third is FZR. They're a little bit further behind. Definitely, I think, we've kind of got this top five that are kind of, top four, sorry. I can't read. The top four, you've got SET and CTX very close to each other at the top. Then you've got third and fourth, FZR and VE, who are also very close to each other, 1 point splitting them between third and fourth. Then you've got, I would say you've got FST kind of on their own in that fifth. And then you've got, of course, F1AF and RV2 who are in that sixth and P7 positions. Then, of course, you've got TDR, OMB, and UFRT all sitting in that same range of 8th to 10th, all on 0 points. So I guess we're going to see how it goes going into this race. We're going to see how it goes. See who's going to perform best. So, as we wait to get underway, we will get underway very shortly, and I do apologise for the long wait to just get into qualifying. We've had a couple of issues to start off the evening, but hopefully we should be getting into it in the next minute. We are going to, because drivers have readied up 22 seconds until we get into qualifying, and that timer is coming down very quickly. It's going to be an interesting race tonight. I don't doubt that. It's going to be very interesting. But let's see, are we still going to get rain or not? Are we still going to get rain or not? That's my question. And going into Going into qualifying now. We saw rain. Are we going to see rain again? Or are we going to see a dry qualifying? So we will be getting into it in the next minute. Also, we should be getting into qualifying. Hopefully this time we will go ahead with qualifying. Hopefully no more problems. As we load in slowly. And it is dry. It is dry for qualifying. Moved away from those wet conditions. Very interesting to see this evening. It's been... I think the drivers will be loving the dry weather though. I think every driver will just love having dry, sunny weather for qualifying rather than wet conditions for qualifying and potentially the race. Although we did see dry in the race, so it looks like it was just wet for qualifying. Looking up and down though, I've got to say it looks like wow, drivers have gotten ready very quickly, not waiting around at all. And the driver who isn't waiting around is Wooly. Wooly is making his way out as he comes out of the pit lane. Rolling along down this second straight. But yeah, we will go on board with him, as he will be the first to cross the line to start a lap here in qualifying. Already, we've lost almost a minute, and we have lost a minute and 15 seconds now. So we have lost already quite a bit of time. We've lost over an 18th of qualifying already, and we've only got a couple of drivers out on track so far. So we might be waiting a little bit longer before we see anybody. But who knows? Who knows? Anything could happen. Anything could happen. Indeed. But as you can see, we've got Wooly making his way round. We'll ride on board with the Williams. We'll ride on board with the FZR driver. Heading down to the final corner. He takes the tight line, optimizing his exits, as now he heads down the pit straight to start off his lap here in EFES. Round number 2 at Austria, and through turn 1. Very good from Wooly, taking all the curb he could. He very much got away. A little bit of sliding on the rear, but not too bad. Now making his way up through turn 2. Into turn 3, hard on the brakes, throwing the car in through the right-hander. Now driving the wheels off of that car as he heads down the back straight with all the speed he's got. He really wants to make this work into turn 4. Through turn 4 he goes. A little bit wide there, taking a bit of a wider line, but keeping the higher speed. Now up through turn 5 before reaching turn 6. The double left-hander, and then into turn number 7. Another left-hander. Hitting quite hard through then turn number 8 before reaching the final 2 corners as he makes his way towards the 2 quickest corners on the whole track. Flat out through this first corner. Bit of a dab on the brakes through the second, and down to the line. What is it going to be? It's going to be a 1 minute 3.171 for the first lap of qualifying here tonight. Apologies everyone for that. I was just having a look. Sendiox did a 1 minute 3.2. Wooly's teammate Luke Sawyer does a 1 minute 3.8, and Iman does a 1 minute 3.9, and that's beaten by Simon Equestre, not by much, but by 5 thousandths of a second to provisional pole, as he goes to a 1 minute 3.166. Not too bad for himself there, but we've got to look around to the next driver. That's going to be Tallow. He's making his way around. He's gone around quite slowly though, so definitely he's backed off on his lap there. Who's next, actually? Who is next? Who's actually crossing the line? Not Rob. Not a lot of these drivers. We'll wait to see who actually crosses the line next for a fast lap. And it's going to be Simon Equestria's teammate, Milan Diosi, who goes to provisional pole. 1 minute 3.012. That's a pretty strong lap. We saw Barbotti as well go to P4 with a 1 minute 3.2. CTX proving to have some decent qualifying pace. We just saw Jerem cross the line. We've now just seen RV2 TM come across the line as well to P6. That's not too bad for himself. Still waiting for a couple more drivers to set their laps. We now look to Felipe. And coming across the line, he goes P7 on the grid, just behind his teammate. Indeed, not a bad lap. But I think he'll be wanting a little bit more from tonight. I will say I think he'll be wanting a bit more. But here comes on his out lap. We look around. I think somebody just jumped up the order. That was Tallow. He jumped to P6. He jumped to P6, and that's not too bad for himself. Looking around, the Grandadder came across the line. He went P9, just ahead of his teammate. Colombo as well, went P11. And I think we just saw Sombor Nagy come across the line in P15. Not great for himself. Got Overdrive, and we've got Maloney, Jack Maloney, on his way into pits. Overdrive, making his way down this last pit straight into the penultimate corner, followed by the final corner. What can the V driver do when he crosses the line? It's going to be a 1 minute 3.5, and he goes quite far ahead of his teammate, 2.5 tenths in front, and up to P8 in tonight's qualifying. I've got to say, that's not too bad of a lap indeed. Not too bad. And I think we're seeing, and nobody is actually on the lap now. Actually, it might be one driver. It is going to be Rob. Rob's going to be the next driver to start his lap. Into turn number 1. Not looking too bad. A little bit of sliding again, but we've seen that kind of from everybody so far. Into turn number 3. Getting that Red Bull locked in as much as you can. You've really, with this track, you've got to sort of lock in. You can't, the smallest mistakes could cause you to lose out. Just your entire qualifying, chances can just disappear if you're not locked in. As not only just your car having a good setup and working for you, working the way you want it to work, and there's a big wobble from Rob, who's only gained 4.6 seconds on his lap so far, so he is currently waiting to make up some more time. He's going to be heading into the pits. He's very much not happy with that. That still would have been a 1 minute 9 in the end, possibly a 1 minute 8 was sitting around there for Rob. So it wasn't looking good based off that middle run. Definitely not the time he was looking to gain on his lap, as he does cross the line. Still quicker somehow. We do have one driver who's just starting his lap. That's Wooly. He's making his way round for his second run in qualify here. P3. He needs to find a 10th and a half to go to provisional pole, and that would only be by 1,000th of a second. But he's already up by 53 thousandths of a second in his first sector, and that's all the time he needs. If he improves by that in every sector, he will ultimately take provisional pole and will probably dip into the 1 minute 2s. I do see a 1 minute 2 coming at some point, and at the moment I think Wooly might be the first to get into the 1 minute 2s. I think we're probably going to see a 1 minute 2.9. Red Bull gets out of the way nicely there. And it is a quarter of a second found for Wooly. Oh my god, his lap is going insane at the moment. 1 minute 3.1, improved by a quarter of a second. He's going to go to possibly a 1 minute 2.8. Are we going to see 2/10? And he's invalidated on the final corner, and it would have been a 1 minute 2.975 for his lap. Oh my god. Oh my god. Absolutely just insane to see. Absolutely insane to see. I cannot believe that. But here comes Luke Sawyer, his teammate, who's also improving by 1/4 of a second. Let's see, can he not invalidate compared to his teammate? Could he jump up to P10 and maybe make it up into the top 10 this evening? Let's see. Coming up to the line and across the line. He does. He does better than that. Up to P7 he goes. Almost 4/10 of a second found in his lap. Absolutely incredible to see. I've got to say, really incredible to see this evening. I think we've got, it is going to be Ben Dearman up to the line. He goes P8. And that's not a bad lap for himself. Here comes Simon Equestre, who's also improving. He only improves by 61 thousandths of a second to go to a 1 minute 3.1. I think there's going to be quite a bit of disappointment for himself there. I don't think he's going to be happy with the lap that he came away with. I think he'll be quite disappointed with that. But here comes Somba Nagy across the line. He improves by 9/10, but stays P16. We just saw Matteo Socchia go to P11 for FST. And his teammate Jack Maloney couldn't do the same. 1 minute 3.8. But just over 2/10 behind. And only 18th. That just proves how important it is to get in good laps indeed. It's very much just a sign of how important it is. Sendiox doesn't improve on his lap. But I think he'll be going for another lap. Jerem just went to P9. We're looking around. Colombo goes to P6. 4/10 of a second found. What an improvement that was from himself. I've got to say, that was one hell of an improvement. We look to, I think we're looking to Rob next. He needs to improve massively in this final sector. He comes across the line. It's only going to be a 1 minute 4.2 and slowest at the moment out of all the drivers who have completed a lap. And that is going to be very, very disappointing and rather frustrating, I think. For the UFRT driver. His teammate far in front. Well, he's far behind. As there goes Barbosi to a 1 minute 3.094. He found quite a bit of time there. Tallow improved, but he invalidated. So that would have been another 700ths, and that would have improved quite a bit. The Grandadder comes across the line into a 1 minute 3.55. It's not a bad lap from himself. I've got to say, that's not bad at all. As there goes RV2 TM. TM goes to P11. That's what he would have been looking for. I think MM Overdrive, is he going for another lap? Yes, he is. He is pushing for another lap. As I think we've just seen a very slight improvement from Felipe, but it's not enough to actually improve position. So he stays P15 for the moment. But again, Woolley is out again in qualifying for a third run. He invalidated his last lap and missed out on a great provisional pole. Nobody's reached the 1 minute 2s yet, but I think Woolley is probably our best bet for him to reach him or Milan so far. Let's see, his first sector. He needs a good amount of improvement on this first sector. He's up. He's actually. He's down by 17 thousandths of a second. That is 800ths slower than he was on his best run. So already he's finding himself a bit behind. Into turn 4 he goes, throwing the car in. He's just got to find what he can now. Just try to get that provisional pole. He's just got to try everything he's got. Got to gain over a 10.5. So we'll have to see. He's up by 21 thousandths of a second in his middle sector. But oh! And he's off into the gravel. And he doesn't hit the wall. Just narrowly escapes it. But he's stuck. He's stuck. Whoa. A very lucky reset for himself there. But very close. Very, very close. Luke Sawyer now making his way round to start off his lap of the evening. Let's see, he's P9, his teammate's P4. Needs to find 0.3 of a second to go ahead of his teammate. Let's see what he could do. Into turn 1. Whoa, and again, both FZR cars struggling to get through turn 1 without losing the rear there. It's really not working out, but up by 200ths in his first sector already. So he'll already jump up to P8 ahead of Tallow. But it all depends on what he can do throughout the rest of his lap. He has got one car in the way, and that's going to be Somber Nagy, who's just going to be one corner in front of him. But I think the Alpine is slowing down to allow the Williams to get by without a problem and without really causing any problems, as he does get out of the way before turn 6. Now making his way down through now turn 7 and quickly through turn 8. As he makes his way down, he's going to come into the pits as he just to lose all of his time in that middle sector. So he is coming back in. So we're going to look to Somber Nagy now. Let's see what can the Alpine do. What can the CTX driver do? He's not pushing. He's going slowly. He's going for another outlap. So he's definitely taking it easy. Maybe getting some more tyre wear, burning some extra fuel for his final run. But he has got to hurry up a little bit because it took about 1 minute 30. He did take about 1 minute 30 on that last lap, so he was really slow. So we'll be waiting to see what he does. While we do have Simon Equestre, who's coming round. He is pushing on his lap. And he moves out of the way because he's decided he doesn't want to. So interesting to see SCT Master make his way around, and already off the track out of turn 1. We've not seen anybody do that yet this evening, but Master will become the first one to accomplish that. So a strange one for himself, a strange little moment for himself there. You got Tallow, who is on a lap. No, he's not. He's going slowly to burn fuel as well. I'm just waiting to find a driver who's actually going to be on a lap. Let's see, Jerem. Jerem, he is pushing on his lap. Through turn 1 he goes. You can see taking a much more straight line approach to turn 1 seems to give more stability to the car. Through sector 1, he's down actually by 41 thousandths of a second. So F1AF not coming away with the best of weekends so far. P6, P12. That's quite a big gap between teammates. And Jerem's also backed off on his lap. Are we going to see anybody actually put in a fast lap? We've got a man who is making his way around. And he's going slowly as well. Is anybody actually going quickly? It is Ben Dearman, up by 13 thousandths of a second in his first sector. So he's not doing too badly there. A slight improvement. That will improve his position. He will go up to P9. But I think he wants to try to get even further. He's got a lot of traffic in his way that's coming up. I've got to say, he's got a lot of traffic coming up next. So Ben Dearman making his way round. As Wooly takes the fastest lap of the evening, up by 0.3 of a second to a 1 minute 2.857. He goes, and into the 1 minute 2s. I said he would do it. I said he would do it, and he did it. And we got Ben Dearman goes to P6. Sendiox. Rob. There goes Simon Equestre, who improves by 18 thousandths of a second. And we've got a couple of people who are actually invalidating their laps. Here comes TM across the line. He goes P9. Milan Diosi comes across the line. He doesn't improve on his final lap. I think that was Matteo Sakia who's jumped up to P6. And there goes Jack Maloney up to P14. Tallow doesn't improve. He stays P11 after invalidating his lap. I think we have... Who's next, actually? On track. That's going to be Jerem, who also doesn't improve because he's invalidated. Overdrive comes across the line. He doesn't improve his lap just altogether. He doesn't improve in the end. That was Luke Sawyer who's come across the line to go P11. Felipe goes P16, stays there. Barbotti stays P4. Colombo goes up to P5. And a strong position gained. We've got Sendiox, who now goes to P5, takes back his position there. And that's what he would have been looking for. Ben Dearman In P8, I think that is very much everybody who's finished their laps. Simon Equestre is the driver who's slowly crawling around, who's got no fuel left in his car. So he is slowly crawling back to the pits. But that is everybody, and it is Wooly, who is on pole position by a magnificent 10th and a half ahead of the OMB duo of Milan Diosi and Simon Equestre. I've got to say, what a lap we've seen. Very much number one on the day. Very much number one. As we're still waiting for Simon Equestre, he is just rolling around the track. I think everybody's just waiting for him to retire, which is interesting. So, we are still waiting for Simon Equestre to actually end his qualifying session because he is just taking forever. I've never seen a driver take this long just to retire. There we go. The session is now over. To see on board Jack Maloney's very pink RB. Let's go through the order of the grid. It is Wooly on for pole for his team of FZR, followed by Milan Diosi, Simon Equestre, Barbossi, Sendiox, Colombo, Matteo, Sakia, Ben Dearman, the Grandada, TM, Luke Sawyer, Tallow, Jerem, Jack Maloney, Iman, Overdrive, Felipe, Rob, Zomba, and Master, who ends off qualifying in the end. That is the entire grid. So I've got to say, very interesting to see. Very interesting. So we'll be moving into the race, the 36 lap race, very shortly. So we are waiting to get underway at some point. I don't know when we are getting underway because I haven't been told of when we're getting underway. So I'm just waiting. We've got 2 minutes at 17 to 9. We will get underway. So we do have a bit of time. Strategy 1 to 2 stop. Quite probably, I'd say, is a 1 to 2 stop. So we are waiting to see. As we wait to get underway for qualifying, less than a minute until we get underway for qualifying. So, as we watch on, you can see cheering in the stands when nothing's happening is an interesting thing to see. Yeah, I'm interested to see what's going to happen here today. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen. FZR on pole by quite a margin. Wooly taking that pole position by a tenth and a half. It's quite a big gap here at Austria, as I've mentioned before. So being the only driver to reach the 1 minute twos is definitely going to be a good, it's very much a good thing for Wooly there. But yeah, it's proving to be quite interesting. I will say it is proving to be rather interesting. So we're underway. It is 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And here we go for EFES Season 2, round number 2. And it is a great getaway from Wooly as he makes his way through turn 1. We've got quite a lot of ghosting going on, and I'm not sure whether we're meant to be having ghosting or not. But through turn 1 they've made it, and it's all been okay. They've all made it through turn 1. All pretty much okay. Whoa! 3 wide further back. Oh my god. Are we going to see 4 wide? No, we're not. But it is all going on here. It's not been a good start for Sendiox. He's struggling a bit to stay in front of Matteo Sakia. And Matteo Sakia around the outside of a Barbotti he goes. And it's a great move made. Another 3 wide moment as we see Barbotti battle with Sendiox. So very, very... a lot of action through this first lap. Tallow making up a couple of places. He's back up to P11 in this race. But so far, I've got to say, looking out in the lead, it's looking very interesting with Wooly leading by an incredible 3/4 of a second already off for the first lap. So he's definitely got the pace very early on. We've still got a lot of battling happening further back. There goes Jerem past Luke Sawyer and Iman for position as he moves up to P12 in tonight's race. Already quite a lot of overtakes happening absolutely everywhere. And I think we might be seeing a couple more happen. Down the inside goes Luke Sawyer as he makes his way up into P12. And the battle is still on between these two. Right on board with Jerem as we head down towards turn 4. Is he going to send it? Is he going to try and make the move? No, he's not. The Ferrari holding back, waiting for a better opportunity. As you can see, possible race strategies. Most likely a 2-stop, medium to hard, too hard. I don't think we're going to see a 3-stop at any point this evening. But so far, lap 2 of 36, 34 more laps to go. And it's already proving to be a very interesting race. Let's get on. One important detail though. The tyres. Everyone's on mediums. Everyone is on the medium compound for tonight, which is a first. I haven't seen that on this year's game. Everybody going for the medium tyres to start off. But that is what we're seeing. So I've got to say a very interesting one. Also, good start from Matteo Sakia, best on the grid, 3 places. Exactly what he would have been looking for off that race start. But Wooly now has to battle against DRS. So I think this might allow Milan Diosi a really good chance at taking the lead of the race. But at the moment, he's holding back. He's not pushing for position yet. Just holding back a little bit. Maybe not ready to make the move as Overdrive gets past Rob for P17 in this race. So only 1 position, but it is still P17 nonetheless, and still past the UFRT driver. UFRT not looking like they're in the best of situations at the moment. P11 and P18 in this race is really not where they want to be when they, especially when you are last in the Constructors' Championship. That's not where you really want to be. Look ahead to the front 2. And we can see Milan Diosi started to get away from his teammate a little bit more. And he's right on the back of Wooly. Heading down towards turn 3. Through turn 2. Look at that. Just scraping past. And into turn 3. Wooly doesn't battle it a lot. As Milan Diosi makes his way up into the lead of tonight's race. And OMB take the lead for the first time this season. And he holds on to that lead as well through turn 4. So I have to say, not going too badly for himself there. Exactly what you'd want. Exactly what you'd want off of lap 1. Milan Diosi, though, he's starting to pull away. But what we've seen is, in dirty air, the tyre wear isn't great. There's a lot of overheating. But also in the lead, what you find is that there's more tyre wear, but less dirty air, which is strange, but that's because you're having to be the quickest. You're having to push your tyres. There's not a lot of choice. You don't have DRS to gain you back that time, that you lose through the corners. So you really do have to push, and that really just puts unnecessary tyre wear on your tyres. So that's why I think Milan Diosi's just gone a bit too early for the lead there. And now he's got Woolley, who might attack him at any moment, and is saving some tyre wear from not having to push so hard through the corners, as Ben Dearman makes his way up to P7 in tonight's race. He's fighting his way back up. He got up to P6, and then he dropped a couple of places down to P8, but he's back up to P7, so he is chasing after. But we can see a couple of gaps now forming. Top 6 have now completely gotten away from the rest of the grid. Master as well down in last after a lap 1 spin out of turn 4. At the moment, it's looking very interesting to see how everybody's doing. But now, the grid is officially split into 2 groups. Top 6 and then 7th down to 19th. So we're going to have to see how that plays out throughout the race as we approach lap number 6. 30 more laps of this race to go. I know, a lot of laps, but a lot of opportunities for incredible racing. But I will say Austria, I think, on this year's game isn't as fun as it used to be. But I think that mostly comes down to dirty air. That there's a lot more dirty air in this year's game than we've had on any of the previous years of game from EA and Codemasters. So I think that has changed some things. But you still see the element of strategy still goes around. I think it makes strategy for overtaking even more important. That's why I mentioned about Milan Diosi dropping down to dropping into the lead, just taking that lead from Woolley might be a very big risk and could really damage his race, because he's having to push flat out on his medium tyres with no DRS to help, while Woolley gets to gain back most of that time. And there's a yellow flag in the middle sector, and that is for SET Master, who's had another spin out of turn 4. Second spin of the evening. He's now sitting 16.5 seconds behind the rest of the grid. Luke Sawyer comes into the pits, and I think we've also got F1AF Jerem also coming in. You can see just that Mercedes looks almost undrivable. You can see just the rear getting away from him through corners he shouldn't be losing the rear on. So I've got to say, quite a strange thing going on. But he continues to drive. He actually continues to go around. Whoa, and another big slide. As we look here, Ben Dearman and Colombo battling once again. TDR versus VE. And this time, Ben Dearman gets out in front. And now it is TM trying to go down the inside of 2 cars. He's got Grandada. And now he's chasing Colombo for P8 in this race and for some extra points. But so far, he's had to pull back, and he's got to think about it. He's got to make another run for it on another lap. So we will be waiting a while, I think, to see a move, because everybody's just working together. They're not trying to, I'm seeing a lot of the drivers working together, not wanting to risk it, as Woolley pulls into the pits. He feels like the undercut is the way to go. The medium tyres are not what he wants, as he's going to come out on a fresh set of hard tyres, I believe, onto lap number 8. And I've got to say, we're seeing a lot of really early stops from drivers right now. We're seeing a lot of early stops. It's very much a first for me to see this many drivers stopping this early. But you can see Luke Sawyer's got in front of Jack Maloney and the Grandada. ST Master gets 10-second time penalty and ultimately retires from the race. Oh, disappointment there for SET. Championship leaders now facing a very troublesome evening. And we can see again Felipe battling with a man for P8 in this race. Simon Equestre now gets past Matthias Sakir and his teammates to take the lead of the race. As they both come into the pits. So I've got to say, everybody's on mediums, but everybody's going a slight bit of distance. So you know, they're all going a slight bit of a difference for distance. As F1 AF Jerem gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. That's the first drive of the evening to get a penalty for multiple warnings. Let's see. Wooly he just gets in front of Milan Diosi there. But for Milan Diosi, he's under attack from another team. He's under attack from Barbotti at CTX, who's also pushing, of course. We know this is a big opportunity for CTX because they could potentially change the championship round. And there goes Milan Diosi around the outside. He's trying to make the move side by side between FZR and OMB. Milan Diosi takes that P9 position. And I believe that would be the provisional lead of tonight's race that he's also taking. So it's a big move, but that's possibly lost him a second or two to everyone else just from that bit of fighting. You know, it's so important to be strategic with your fighting, and I think very much there Milan Diosi was doing it to survive Barbotti from behind. So let's see, where is everybody going to come out? Whoa, and it's a really big gap. UFRT Rob gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. So now 2 drivers have penalties, but that's actually worked out terribly for Simon Equestre. He's miles behind. He's absolutely miles behind. There goes down the inside Barbotti with a massive dive bomb on the driver of Wooly. Side by side now. Whoa, bit of wheel-to-wheel contact there. Into turn number 4. Barbotti's in front. And the bit of a dark horse this evening who hasn't done a lot to make his way up the grid. Now, maybe the hard tyres work for him. And he's up to 6th place. And that would be provisional P2. So a podium coming for CTX again. And ultimately, it looks like it could even be the championship lead going to CTX based off of how this race is going. Out of the remaining 4, 3 more drivers come into the pits. Tallo, Colombo, and Felipe all come into the pits, and there goes Barbotti up to 3rd. Only his teammate remains out in the lead of tonight's race. So we will see where everybody shifts to in the grid. Simon Equestre gets ahead of Matteo Succhia for P6 in tonight's race. Another position up, and a good position to make up as well in such a close race like this. As now we watch on with Simon Equestre chasing the top 5 to make it top 6 once again. But with Matteo Succhia and Luke Sawyer behind, that actually they could make it 8 drivers all in for a chance. Simon Equestre has just set the fastest lap of the race, but still just outside of that 1 second gap. Just a little bit unable to reach it, but you can see he's losing so much time. And look at that, he's just lost half a second down one single straight. And he's going to continue to lose out down the next straight because, look at this, it's going up, it's going all the way back up to 1.5 seconds. But he is bringing it back down, so for him, he'll be hoping that he gets that below second this lap, and I don't doubt he won't. So we're going to be waiting to see whether he does. Still at that 1.3, 1.4 seconds. He's actually had a bit of a horrific middle sector. It's kind of fallen apart for him there. And he's actually lost about 1/10 of a second over the last lap. So clearly going without DRS might not be enough for him to actually get up to the top 5. Because look at that, the gap's growing once again. Is actually growing a little bit larger than last time. And there goes Matteo Socchia, who goes up to P6 in the race. He goes back ahead. Simon Equestre, 1.3 seconds is the gap at the moment. That's not going up, but it is going up for somebody else. But Milan Diosi retakes the lead of the race as he goes ahead of Zomba Nagy. And now there goes the teamwork between Barbotti and Zomba. But you can see, look at this. We're just going to see this now. A teammate backing up everyone else. Look at how much he's backing them up. 8/10 already across this lap. We're just gonna see Somba here. He's just gonna be backing them up so much. Look at this, 8/10 of a second. Here comes Woolley. Oh my God, we're gonna see some close racing down towards turn 1, and he's still holding them up a second gap now. Look at this, using all of the battery he's got. He's using absolutely everything he's got to stay in front. He's got tremendous straight line speed. But those old medium tyres just have no grip at all. He's still going to battle everybody as much as he can. As he does drop down to P5, but he's really given a good battle there for position. And really helped out his teammate, dropping 2 seconds for Woolley to Barbotti. So it looks like we might be seeing a two-way battle for the win now. 22 laps of the race remain. Milan Diosi leads the way here tonight. There goes Simon Equestre as well for P5. He goes ahead of Somba Nagy. But he's actually losing. He's actually lost time over the last lap or two to the top 4 that it is now. He's actually losing time. As you can see, 1.8, 1.9. 1.9 seconds, almost at 2 seconds. Here comes Matteo Socchia for position. And that's at 2.1 seconds now. So I don't think they're going to be catching the leaders at any point. Simon Equestre, though, has gone for another set of mediums. He's gone for a very interesting another medium run. And you see everybody's on the hards except Simon Equestre, Tallow and Overdrive. They're the only drivers who aren't on the hard tyres. So interesting double medium strategy coming from OMB there. But they really need to pull something together. They are taking big points, and exactly what they wanted points-wise. Might bring them up to maybe 4th or 5th in the championship. Probably about 4th, I'd say, in the championship after tonight. But even then, still not exactly where they want to be. They'd rather be 1-2 and take the lead of the Constructors' Championship out of round number 2. But look at that, 2.4 seconds. He's just... The medium tyres have gone, and he's just not going to gain now. This is the worst thing for him now. He's not going to catch up to the rest. We see a bit of battling further back between Felipe and UFRT Rob. And he's up to P16 now. He was down in 19th. So he's gained 3 places now in the last few laps. And he's going to hold on to P16, still running side by side as they make their way up through into the left-hander. Making their way through. Still side by side. Look at this. Absolute beautiful racing, leaving plenty of room. But in the end, Felipe was able to use his better tyres against Rob. And the Grandada now gets a 3-second time penalty. 4 drivers in this race have now gotten it. Rob gets another 3-second time penalty. So it's all falling apart for UFRT here tonight. But now you can see Felipe is chasing after the driver of Overdrive. But then there is a massive gap to the rest of the grid. 5 seconds over that. It's getting close to 6 seconds gap between everyone. Still chasing and chasing. Jack Maloney makes his move. He's trying to make his move on Luke Sawyer. FST really pushing. They really want to get in a couple more points. They really want to jump up the order ahead of everyone else. They really want to get it this evening. I do have to say they're proving that they really want this. Get in front of FZR. Remember, they're rivals at the moment. FZR and FST. Championship rivals. So it's all coming down to this. Barbotti, though, has been able to keep up with Milan Diosi just about, as now UFRT Rob retires in the pit lane, and he calls an end to his race. We have reached the halfway point of tonight's race as well. I have to say it's gone by rather quickly, so I'm going to be interested in what we see in the next half, as there goes Jack Maloney for position, and also there goes Grandadda trying to make the move on Luke Sawyer, but it's allowed Jack Maloney to actually pull past. So now it's one driver behind and one driver in front. Let's see, can Jack Maloney catch up to Ben Dearman and Simon Equestre for position? Because at the moment he's catching a bit down to 2.2, so he's actually gained about 2/10 already on this lap. So it looks like it could be quite interesting. We could be seeing a battle for up to P5 here, which I'll be quite interested to actually see. Is a battle for positions like we might be getting. I do think at the moment, I think everybody's being rather careful. As here comes Luke Sawyer again. Down into turn number 3. Look at that. The Grandadda also trying to make a move on Jack Maloney, and in the end he has been able to. Still side by side, actually. Still side by side. Heading down this back straight. And there goes Jack Maloney for position as he makes his way up into P8. But now Luke Sawyer's having a bit of competition here because he's going side by side with TM. TM gets in front of Luke Sawyer, and Luke Sawyer's just lost 3 places. And he's really struggling, actually, because Colombo also gets past him. So another position. Wooly! He gets a 3-second time penalty. Simon Equestre comes back into the pits for the second time as he gets a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. 3 drivers are in the pits. Simon Equestre, Luke Sawyer, and Tallow and Jerem. All in the pits. Second stop in this race coming up for them. But look at this, down into the next corner into turn 3, still side by side. TM are definitely coming out a bit more aggressive than what we've seen so far in the race. He's sort of sat back quite a bit. Now he's being quite aggressive. So is Matteo Sokia. He's also being really aggressive in this race, but we've kind of seen that throughout. And there goes TM down the inside. Matteo Sokia on the inside. He holds that inside line, and he's going to hold on to P8 ahead of the FST driver. And that's another very nice position gain for himself in this race, and going side by side. Very tight there, but luckily the Grandadda kept to quite tight to the apex there, which of course did help. But now the driver's jumping up the order slowly, and there we go. You can see a whole new top 7 in this race. Now we can see again almost 3 wide going on between these 3 here. But Colombo now up to P5. He's made up the place, but Colombo and TM haven't actually gotten DRS here. So who's going to get the position in the end? And TM pushes his way past for position. And there goes the RV2 driver, really wanting some decent points this evening. Really aiming for those decent points. But look at this further back. Sendiox and Simon Equestre having a bit of a battle. And there goes Milan Diosi into the pits as they head on to lap 22 of 36 in tonight's race. What tyres is he going for? He's going for another set of hard tyres. The other set, he's gone 14 laps, remember. on these hard tyres alone. He's gone for 14 laps, so he should make it to the end of the race, which should actually be perfect for himself. It should be very good as Jerome gets another 3-second time penalty. Just adding up this evening. A bit too much for the F1AF driver. Now, as we watch on, Barbotti leads by 9 seconds in tonight's race. Only 9 seconds. That's coming down a bit with Ben Dearman. But he comes into the pit sliding through the final corner. But I want to look at Milan Diosi behind, who's racing round to get in front. And it's, of course, it's a very fast final sector. So are we going to see him get in front? And that's Barbotti, who is done in the pits. He's finished in the pit lane. He's rolling along the pit lane at the moment. He's almost at the end. He's almost at the end. He's just coming out now. Second pit stops. And it is Milan Diosi who comes out in front and almost 2 seconds in the lead of the race. Almost an entire 2 seconds. Absolutely insane. And that's 2 seconds with warmed up tyres already. So he's going to gain that little bit more. But again, he sacrificed that extra lap, that extra 2 or 3% of tyre wear. He sacrificed that bit more. So not the best of options there. Definitely not the best. But he had to do what he had to do to take the lead of tonight's race. So there goes TM for P12 ahead of Tallow and Colombo. Not bad, not a bad move. A rather decent move in the end, and a move, like I said, he needed to make as he now charges towards the rest of the grid, speeding around the track. Hopefully gain some good points for RV2 this evening. They only scored 1 point last week. Let's see this week, can they score a lot more? We know he was up in some decent positions earlier. We know before any pit stops he was P8, so he's on for sort of 4 points, so definitely some decent points. We're in it for RV2 in that very vibrantly green and black Sauber. As Matteo Socchia gets past Zomba, as now F1AF Jerome retires from the race. Luke Sawyer as well gets past Zomba, same as Ben Dearman, going almost 3 wide here. Down into turn 4. There goes Ben Dearman down the inside. He's got the pace advantage. We've seen that all race long as he goes up into P7 in tonight's race. A very nice move indeed from himself. That's exactly what TDR will need. You know, they need a decent race. They didn't score any points last week. So they'll be hoping this week they can get some points. P7 at the moment. That could change at any point. That could very much change at any point for any driver. One penalty can ruin it for a team and can absolutely create glory for another. But we'll wait and see with 11 more laps of this race to go. 12 laps remaining. Look at that. Ben Dearman chasing Matteo Socchia. I have to say, Ben Dearman and Matteo Socchia definitely been more on the aggressive side, along with Jack Maloney, and for instance Luke Sawyer, much more on the aggressive side for overtaking this week. So, you know, it is going to be quite a bit of a battle to get past. So we watch on. Zomba Nagy gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. As I've actually got to look to the lead because Barbotti has closed that gap down from 1.8 to 1.1 seconds now. In the last few laps, the last 4 laps, he's been able to really bring that time down. So I've got to say he's gaining a lot of lap time on Milan Diosi at the moment. So maybe this fresh set of hard tyres just isn't working as of yet for the OMB driver. Still, OMB set to take a really large amount of points this evening, which is, of course, a really big positive. But you see that gap has grown again. It has grown back again, so it's not being perfect. It's not being great for Barbotti. It's up and down. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. But Ben Dearman, he's had some decent pace, but he's not having decent pace now. He's not really been able to catch up to Sendiox that much, only 3/10 so far. So, not being perfect so far for himself. Iman now making the move past Zomba Nagy for P10 in this race. And that is up into the points. Once again, TDR, from no points, they're looking like they're going to be getting double points. I mean, 9 points wouldn't be too bad to walk away with from round number 2. It would really help them in the championship because for teams like UFRT and VE aren't going to be scoring any points this evening. RV2 as well, outside of there, as TM gets 3-second time penalties for multiple warnings. So, it's looking quite interesting for tonight. I've got to say, it's looking very interesting. But wait and watch as the final 9 laps start to come round. Do wait and watch to see this action go on. As we watch the lead, actually, it's Barbotti who's closed that lead down below a second. He has found 9/10. He has halved that lead in the last few laps. He's been able to half that lead. I've not seen a drive like that in the last couple of laps to bring himself back into winning contention. Now he chases after the race lead. He's got the DRS now, so he can save some ERS. He can push all he wants as he makes his way onto lap number 29 of 36. Making his way down the second straight, you could see that gap is getting smaller and smaller. Corner on corner, it is just getting smaller between the front two. Still, with the DRS, still pushing everything he's got as he makes his way down into turn 4. It just seems like Milan Diosi just doesn't know what to do. It just seems like he's unable to get away from the CTX driver. He just doesn't seem to know what to do. Indeed, it's a strange situation. It's a very rare situation that we find here. It's, we don't usually see this from teams. I will be honest. We don't usually find this where a team's kind of put on the back foot, yet they're leading a race, even though they're on the back foot. So for Milan Diosi now, all he's got to think about is whether he's going to be able to hold on to this lead and keep pushing like the way he's pushing, or will he have to allow Barbotti past just to save some ERS, save a little bit here and there. He might have to take that into account, that that is what he's facing. But I do also think that he hasn't been pushing all out while Barbotti's been further away. I think he's been saving a little bit, because we still see through some of the corners Milan is a lot closer and quite a bit, has a bit of pace over Barbotti through the corners and grip-wise. So I think that he saved his tyres a little bit more, but he's definitely a lot slower on the straight line speed. Even taking out DRS, he seems to be at least losing 2/10 a lap, maybe 3, just through straight line speed at the moment. So it's not a great position to be in. I think we can all agree it's one of the worst positions to really be in at that point. but it is a position that a lot of people find themselves in. As I think there's a bit of battling going on. P11 as TM makes his way up to 11 ahead of Somber Nagy. But I think we're going to have to wait and see, because it's either going to be OMB or CTX who win tonight. If CTX win, they'll go ahead of SCT in the Constructors' Championship. They'll go far ahead. And OMB also have the chance to really get something from tonight. Maybe, you know, P1, P4 at best. But P1, P4, you know, that's not bad either. Over 30 points scored, 36 points if I'd be correct. You know, that's also very strong. So we're going to have to wait and see who's going to come out here. It is very much championship deciding. It's very much championship deciding here. I don't think, you know, I think it's championship deciding in, you know, I think when you always look at it, the first two race, I think the first race is where you figure out sort of where everyone is, maybe in the second race. But what we're seeing here is that CTX have kept that pace, SCT's dropped back a bit, FST is still there, FZR are still there. You know, sort of teams have moved about here and there, but ultimately quite a few teams are in the same place. Some teams are further up, like OMB, but that doesn't take out the fact that, you know, anything can still happen. And, you know, I think this is where it's going to get very interesting, is when Barbotti starts to get more aggressive over the next couple of laps. I think that's when it's really going to get far more interesting, is when Barbotti really starts to get aggressive, starts to get a lot closer than he is, as there goes the Grandada, who goes up to P8 ahead of Luke Sawyer, but he's got that penalty anyway, so he'll drop down to P10. It's not really gaining him much. I think he's got a couple of penalties against him as well, so we're not even sure whether he will actually hold on to any position. So let's just have a look at the penalties from this evening, because they have, there's quite a few. So Woolley has a 3-second time penalty, Simon Equestria has a 10-second time penalty, 3 seconds for Granada, 3 seconds for TM, 6 seconds for Zomba Nagy, and 3 seconds for Overdrive. That is everyone. Nobody's done a 3-stop except Jerem. Nobody's done a 3-stop. Everybody's just trying to shorten that down. Final 4 laps of the race to go. Final 4 laps. This is where it starts to get a little bit more exciting. See Matteo Socchia really trying to make a move there. He really tried to fake Ben Dearman. In the end, he wasn't able to make the move. He's still in P7. Still some decent points coming in for FST. Not a lot, but just a couple of points here and there. But I have to say, definitely TDR, and I think like TDR, I think mostly TDR I'm surprised by this week, you know. P6 and P11 compared to last week, a massive improvement for them. Massive improvement. They're on for double points. It's a huge improvement for TDR, and it's a very rare improvement that you see from like one race they're 8th in the constructors, and the next race, you know, they've got 2 drivers in the points. It's a very rare thing to see, but here comes Matteo Socchia for position with 3 laps to go in this race. It is a sprint towards the line now. Still holding back Matteo Socchia, wanting to probably wait until that final lap of the race. That's really what he's waiting for. Colombo is making a move on Somba Nagy for P13, and that's a position gained for himself. And he should actually have possibly gained up to P11 with the penalties of the Grandada and TM in front, but we'll have to wait and see whether he's able to keep up or not, because I'm not sure whether he is within distance to be able to do that. TM, by the way, getting past Luke Sawyer. Round the outside he goes. He's trying to make it work all the way up to the gravel. Luke Sawyer still battling it, and Luke Sawyer holds on to P9 for now, but only for now. Very much the battle over P9 is going to be very important, because of course that's also going to matter for P8. So that bit of battling hasn't helped, puts them over a second behind the Grandada. That already damages some of the drivers further back, which is not what you want to see. We've got to look to the lead. Gap's grown a little bit more, but Barbotti keeping that at about the half a second mark. So it's looking like things are getting a bit toasty now. Here comes TM again on Luke Sawyer. And this time he's made the move. And here comes Iman. Oh, and that is TM who's gone off track. And ultimately loses the position to Luke Sawyer again anyway. And down the inside from Iman. It's down the inside. And this is the worst camera angle I think I've ever seen. But he's made it up to P10. Look at him. He's looking to the inside. He was looking for a move on Luke Sawyer there. But he didn't make the move. But we got to look to the leaders. Because it is Milan Diosi versus Barbotti onto lap 36 of 36 in EFES. And it is a good getaway. Look at that little bit of weaving heading down this second straight. But Barbotti doesn't want to make the move here. Or does he? He's holding back. He's holding back. He's gone for it. He's waited for the DRS line. Barbotti side by side with Milan Diosi. Now he's fallen behind, heading down this back straight, moving from side to side. Look at that, but there goes a late defense. Barbotti down the inside on Milan Diosi, and there goes Barbotti into the lead. He takes the lead here in Austria with just half a lap to go. He's heading round, only a couple of corners to go, only 4 corners left, and he's gapping Milan Diosi just that little bit. Half a second now. It looks like it is all sealed for Barbotti to win for CTX here tonight. To take their first win of the season. Let's see. Round the final corner. Barbotti wins in Austria in F1 of EFES. And what a win it is. Who's going to finish third? That's my question. It's Sendiox for SET. He finishes third. And what a podium it is. So still another podium for SET this week. But Barbotti with that last lap, just taking the lead on that final lap is exactly what he was looking for. And that's exactly what he would have wanted. And that's exactly what his team wants. A win and puts them in front, if I'm correct, of SET in the Constructors' Championship. So they take the lead out of round number 2. Change of lead of the championship already in this season. As you can see, celebrations for Barbotti. 2 Hungarians on the podium and a German. Lifting that trophy high for Austria. But a very impressive drive indeed from all. Incredibly impressive nonetheless. So let's go through the order of the grid. Barbotti wins from 4th on the grid, followed by Milan Diosi, Sendiox, Woolley, Ben Dearman, Matteo Socchia, Simon Equestre, Iman, the Grandadder, Luke Sawyer, Jack Maloney, Colombo, TM, Tallow, Felipe, MM Overdrive, Somber Nagy, and then the retirements being Jerem, Rob, and SCT Master. That is everybody. What an interesting end that was to the race. I've got to say, absolutely incredibly interesting to see there. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable nonetheless. Yeah, I mean, very interesting to see. Very interesting to see. But in the end, what an interesting race that was. I think there was less action than we usually see, but I've got to say, I think it was more strategy this race. This race was about securing championship positions and securing strong points over just pure racing. So that's a bit of a different one. So that's very much a first for me. Very interesting. Very interesting. We might be having interviews. Maybe. Maybe not. But yeah, I'm checking to see whether we do interviews or not. I'm not entirely sure. But there are no interviews, sadly. But ultimately, that is tonight's race over and done. Congratulations to CTX and Barbotti on the victory in Austria. Next week, we go to Belgium for round number 3 of the season. Then we have the United Kingdom after. Then we have Monza for round 6. We have Qatar. For round 7, we have Brazil. Round 8 is in USA. Round 9 is Singapore. And round number 10 goes to Abu Dhabi. I also want to say a massive thanks to our sponsors of SRC Sim Racing Centre. So big thank you to them. So with that, that is the end of the stream. Make sure to follow us here at EFES. Also make sure to go and follow us on Instagram. Also go and follow us on Twitter, YouTube, absolutely everywhere. Just follow us everywhere. TikTok, here on Twitch. Just follow us at every single place. But with that, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. Goodbye.